The champ is on the mic. Struggles ongoing, but I know the battle is the Lord's. Though tears are overflowing, yet my faith remains. In hope I'm pressing onward, no matter what I face. I rise, His Spirit leads me on. All the way, Lord, I pray, help me say, every day that I wake, I will praise You. Every breath that I take, Lord, I will praise You. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher. Struggles are going, but I know the battle is the Lord's. Though tears are overflowing, yet my faith remains. In hope I'm pressing onward, no matter what I face. I rise, His Spirit leads me on. All the way, Lord, I pray, help me say, every day I'm alive, I will praise You. Every way while I can, I will praise You. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Are you with me? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. I owe my life to You. I rest upon Your word.
That's right.
Your joy alone, my strength. I'm right on track. In You I have my peace, the rock that never fails. I pour my love on You. I know You're in control. I'm singing and dancing and praising, moving, 'cause my Lord is good. Rejoicing, progressing. I'm shouting, God is good. Hey, I'm standing under the rock. Hey, I know my God's in control. I hail, 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 I hail. I talk to the Lord, I walk with the Lord. I stand by the word of the Lamb of God. I talk to the Lord, I walk with the Lord. I stand by the word of the Lamb of God. This is my daily motion. It's guidance gives me higher. This is my daily motion. It's guidance gives me forward. This is my daily motion. It's guidance gives me higher. My daily motion. I'm moving forward. My daily motion. I'm going higher. My daily motion. I'm moving forward. My daily motion. I'm going higher. My daily motion. I'm moving forward. My daily motion. I am going higher. My daily motion. I'm moving forward. My daily motion. I'm going higher. Hello and good evening, Daily Motion family. I am Dr. Olayemi Champion Odushola, and it is such an awesome privilege to be here tonight. I just wanted to make sure that you can hear me. So if you can hear me, can you kindly just type in the chats and say, I could hear you. This is the Daily Motion Haven of Love. It is a place where we come together as people of faith and we talk about sensitive issues, real issues, without the facade and without the judgment. And I just want to stop tonight and say that this forum is made possible by all the voices that are dedicated to coming here whenever they get a chance to come and add to the conversation. I realize time and time again that it doesn't matter what I do. The voices that come together is what makes the show. So I want to say thank you to everyone that makes this possible, everyone that makes it a point to add to the conversation or listen. I especially thank the people who share the cast. I don't usually tell people to share unless something is really bugging me and I think it's, important that we get the word out as far as possible. But some people without any prompting would share my post, and I really appreciate that. I want you to know that it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for coming here, bringing your voice, and contrary to how we were raised, making it a point to live authentically, to be able to speak our truths and just shame the devil, really, is what I have to say. I am very grateful. I'm very grateful. We have a very good show tonight, and I call it good because when you find the problem, then you're closer to the answer. It might, though, be a sensitive show for certain people, whether you know somebody who has been a victim of abuse or you yourself, you have been a victim of abuse. I know that when we start to talk about these things and expatiate on them, occasionally it would trigger some thoughts and some memories. And I want to let you know that if you find yourself in that shoe tonight and you think that it's becoming too sensitive for you, reach out to somebody you know can support you, get off the cast, and, get the support that you need beside you. A phone call, and just tell somebody, I just heard some things that triggered me, and I just want you to stay on the phone with me right now. If you call me, I'll answer. I'm telling you, and I'll answer live. if I'm your person, then I will stop my live and I will answer, because that's what this is about. I recognize that this can be a trigger. Unfortunately, for people who have experienced one form of domestic abuse or domestic violence, it never ends, sometimes even when you leave the situation. So once again, I welcome you to this very good and sensitive show, and we're going to have a good conversation. I'm going to say a few shout outs. I'll introduce the topic to you, and then we'll bring our experts into the room. Hi, everyone. I'm speaking a lot of English tonight because a couple of my guests do not speak my language. And so I'm going to try to be a good girl tonight and try to speak all the English that I went to school and paid people to learn. So pardon me if I don't put all my ajasas and all that stuff. Plus, this is also a show that, does not permit us to, be as comedic as we would usually be, I mean, we always have fun. There's fun in telling the truth. So we'll have fun. But this is an intervention. And I want us all to be as honest as possible. I say that the voice of Daily Motion is the voice of the people who come to the forum, because you know that you are the experts of your life. And so whatever information that you have or have been privy to, please share on the chats, because we are going to be pulling those in. We need all the voices. We're going to pray before we start, because at the same time, we want to also be careful that we are leading people with correct information. So there's nothing I can do to control that. I'm just going to hand it over to God to control that, because he can. All right, that's all the official business I have tonight. My joy girl is in the house. She said, today, not today. Good to see you all again. Oh, Miss Tinu. Miss Tinu is here. Hi, Miss Tinu. How are you? You are very welcome. Miss Ngozi is in the house. Dr. Femi is singing along to the intro. Hello, Dr. Kudi. That's me. It means I am Dr. Money. I'm rolling in the dollars. I haven't seen them yet, but in my dreams, I keep rolling in them. One day it will come to fruition. Good evening. Mommy Teriba is in the house. Hi, Ayo. Abisola is here. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you guys. Uncle TJ. Hi, Uncle TJ. How are you? Good evening. God bless you. Thank you for being here and for making time. Thank you to everyone that said they could hear me, because I needed to be heard. Do you hear an echo, though? I just want to know if you guys hear an echo. Do you hear an echo when I speak? Please put it in the chat. Hi, Auntie Fumi. How are you? Hi, Auntie Buki. How are you? Wale Wallops. Hi, Wallops. Wale and Okpe. I always assume you guys are together. for some reason. Like you're never separated. So I say hi to Wale and then I say hi to Okwe. Hi. All right. Those are all my shout outs for now. And we will continue to do shout outs as we go. No echo. Thank you very much. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the guest. I am going to allow them to introduce themselves. And then we'll watch a short clip and we'll go from there. Are you ready to have a good conversation tonight, DM fam? I trust that you are. Thank you so much. Mommy Yolami is in the house. All right, Daily Motion family, everything that you have, please, in emojis, in love, in clapping of the hands, in sending hearts and love and appreciation to the people who have left whatever they had scheduled to do to come and have this conversation with us. Can you go ahead and send them in the chats? I almost said send them in the chats. I almost did, but I didn't. Go ahead and send all those emojis. I want to see them. I want to see them. Thank you so much because it is really cool that they have come to share with us. Please welcome into the Daily Motion studios tonight all of our guests and give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. I eventually did, right, Dr. G? Dr. G, I eventually did. I was like, please put them in the shots. You know, it has to be like this because sometimes you know that this I'm living on borrowed language right here. This borrowed language. So sometimes I show myself. There is I'm going to be doing some adjustments as we go during this show because something phenomenal happened to me right before we were about to go live. And I want you to clap for me. Please clap for me. Please clap for me. Please, I want you to clap for me. Don't clap for me. I clap for myself. It's okay. I clap for myself. Anyway, I had a very, very good addition, a last minute addition to the show because we were trying to figure out how we were going to do this. And it happened. So I'm very excited. So I'll be adjusting the picture as we go along. I'm going to go ahead and have the guests introduce themselves to us. I want you to know who they are. So please celebrate them. Oh, I like all these emojis. All these emojis are so beautiful. All right, go ahead. I will start with Ife. Ife, tell us your name, what you do, your pet peeves, what you like. Tell us about your family if you can. It will take a minute or so per person to do that. Go ahead.
Hello, Daily Motion family. This is Ifeoluwa Joseph. I'm married to my beautiful wife, Mojisola Arewa Adebayo Joseph. Ọmọ dúdú kì í ṣá. Yeah, that's right. I'm blessed with two beautiful angels, uh, Oluwasefunmi and Oluwanifemi. Um, I'm the only man in the house, so I'm the king of my home, and my wife is the queen. I work as a tech deployment program manager with Amazon. I love playing music. I I consult for churches and people for events. Then I love traveling,
Thank
and
you.
that's all about me. Yeah.
That's all about you. Thank you so much. Go ahead, Attorney Karen Oshinowo. Go ahead. I just introduced you because I realized that we don't have a title in your name, but I'm gonna add it. You go ahead and do your introduction. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Daily Motion family. My name is Karen Oshinowo. I am an Illinois licensed attorney. I've been licensed in the state of Illinois for a good more than 20 years now. My practice consists primarily of family law, so I am very well versed in family law matters. I have had some experience with domestic violence matters. I did volunteer at the domestic violence courthouse earlier in my career, assisting uh, mostly women, but some men, file petitions for orders of protection. I am blessed with two beautiful girls, Yetunde and Lola. Yetunde is in college right now. She's almost 20. And Lola is a junior who just got her driver's license, and she's going to be 17. And I'm very excited to be here. And about me, I love, unfortunately, I don't speak Yoruba, but I do speak French. And in fact, I heard the misfortune that is kind of the subject of tonight's discussion, listening to one of the podcasters from Ivory Coast. So this is getting national attention, and I'm very glad to hear it. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for being here. She is referring to uh, the case of Osinachi. We discussed a little bit about her 2 weeks ago. She was actually, like she said, listening to um, a podcast that was non-Nigerian and heard it. So it's amazing that when we speak out, um, our voices reach far. And I think that we have been in the culture of silence for too long. And it's such a beauty to see that we are now speaking. I'm going to go ahead and allow Auntie Lola to introduce herself to the Daily Motion family. I was sharing with the guests that one of my friends who is non-Nigerian, told me one day and said, your family is so big. I said, oh yeah, I'm child number 13, because I'm child number 13. So I'm used to people saying that. It's like, I join your show and, all your aunts and uncles, and it's so nice. And I said, oh yeah. So then the next time she shared it with me, it's like, are all those people your aunts and uncles? I said, well, yes and no. Because I call everybody auntie this and uncle that. So from that day onward, I had made it a point that I would address people by their names, but I always fail. So I'm going to try again to address people by their names, because I know that not everybody that is on this live understands all these relationships. But like I said, we're family, DM fam, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, and we're all related. So go ahead, Miss Lola. I will attempt to call you tonight and share your introduction with the Daily Motion family.
Hi, DM family. My name is Lola Balajobi. I'm a registered nurse with case management and also a case manager in the state of Texas. Um, I I have two kids. I'm divorced, but I have two young adults, very beautiful, talented children, which I'm grateful for. And I'm glad to be here tonight to talk to you all about this topic. I'm actually glad that we are talking about it, really, because it used to be something, it used to be a taboo, but I'm glad we are here. So we're going to have fun tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your introduction. Now, while my co-host gives her introduction, you're going to be seeing some picture changes, but just enjoy the picture changes. Don't worry. I'm going to try to make it as swift as possible. Let us go to my auntie. She's actually my auntie. Our mommy is my mommy's sister. So this is our own residential Daily Motion clinical psychologist, and I have shared several times on the forum of how she believed in this cause before anything happened, really. And I'm very grateful, and I will always say that to you, Dr. Tati. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself to your family. This is yours. I shouldn't be here, actually. I should just be running the tent. Go ahead, Doc.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yemi. My name is Tade Akere, and I'm a licensed clinical therapist in the state of Illinois. I do therapy for adults, for children, and I also do psychological testing for clients of the state of Illinois for IDPH. I'm a talk show host. I guess Yemi says I have to always mention that I'm a talk show host. Check me out on Dr. Taddy Talks on YouTube.
I also am an author of the book No, Not My Son, a book about autism. I have three adults, three young adults, three young men, um, ranging from 25 to 20. And of course, happily married to one man. I am a minister of the gospel. Attend Jesus House Chicago proudly. And what else? I love to travel. I love to read. I love to write. Um, I enjoy people. I love people who are genuine and authentic. And I guess that means I do not like fake people. And I'm glad to be here talking about this that is so close to my heart. Um, and I'll hand it back over to Yemi.
Thank you so much. So, DM fam, this is that place where I want to make some changes to our scene, but I think that you're going to enjoy it. I am going to allow Christy to start her introduction. Christy actually needs no introduction on this panel. I know that her picture is a little far, but we're going to fix that. So, Christy, go ahead and start your introduction. And by the time we're done with your introduction, I think that I may be able to get a better picture of that. Go ahead and speak. I'm testing your sound.
Hi, Christy Rodriguez here. Thank you, Yemi, again for having me. I'm so honored and privileged to be a part of this platform,
Okay.
which I think is very important. I love truth. I love speaking open and honestly about life and who we're sharing it with. So I am a mother of four. I'm a wife. I'm every woman to everyone. I feel like sometimes I'm running around all the time. But just recently, I have two sons who both had baseball games, and they had a baseball parade this morning. So I've been going all day. But thank you, Lord, for the beautiful sunshine that we get to have to be able to come together with our friends and family and to have a community, and that's what it's all about. So Yemi, thank you again for having me be a part of this.
Thank you so much. Because I know that you are a professional production person. Hold on. Because I know you're a professional production person, your mic needs to be closer to you. So go ahead and grab that mic and let's pull it closer. Just a little bit closer. We're going to be able to see it in the picture, but it'll be fine. Or pull your seat closer to the mic, actually. That may also work. Very good. Excellent. All right, let's see the results of our handiwork. We did a little bit better. Yeah, we did a little bit better. All right. Now I'm going to do one more thing, Daily Motion fam. Thanks so much for accommodating this. I'll tell you the testimony. I'll tell you that testimony shortly. Look at you, beautiful lady. Christy, you're going to have to start speaking some Yoruba soon. This is, you have stayed too long on this mountain. All right. Oh yeah, it's a beautiful picture. All right, excellent. We're gonna start the conversation. I will allow you to, Daily Motion fam. I want you to please be a part of the conversation, and I want you to be a part of all the answers that we're sharing and all the questions that we're sharing. Thank you so much. Christy, go ahead and speak one more time. Just say hello, and we'll see if we can hear you better.
Hello, and thank you again for having me, and I appreciate everyone else being here on this panel. I think it's such a great topic and a needed topic to discuss.
It's still a little low, so we're going to go ahead and continue adjusting it and pulling it closer. Go ahead. Closer. All right, DM fam, let's start this topic. I named this topic Leave and Let's Live on Purpose. And leave, Leave, and let's live on purpose. Because like we mentioned earlier, we know the case of Osinachi because she's a well-known person to some of us. But there are so many unknown faces that have had to endure this. Domestic violence is what we're talking about. We're going to be using these terms: domestic violence, domestic abuse, intimate partner abuse. We're going to be using them interchangeably tonight. I want you to know that we are aware that domestic violence does not only affect one sex. We are aware that it affects males and females. Somewhat to a higher degree in females, but in certain states, actually in the United States, like West Virginia, I think, and Texas, I found that there was a higher degree of reported male abuse compared to females. One thing that one has to know, though, is that male abuse is usually underreported because there is that ego and that thing that says, oh, you're a guy, you're really going to go report that a girl's beating you up or that you are abused. So it is always underreported. Also, I wanted us to know, when I say leave and let's live, I always caution people, we're not asking people to leave their marriages because of reconcilable differences. Because there are certain things that people think they can just get out of because it's not working right now and it's a ground for divorce. That's not what we're saying. We're saying in the cases where your safety is being threatened, whether your emotional, your mental, or your physical safety, this is what we are referring to when we say leave and let's live. The reason I say that is because for people who think divorce is an easy way out of marriage, I always counsel that divorce does not end your marriage, especially if there are children involved in that marriage, because there are always going to be things that bring you back together. Once you are in a marriage, especially when it involves children, it doesn't leave your life because you leave the home. So if there are reconcilable differences, please walk and work with your partner with counsel. If you have spiritual guidance, work all the resources that you have to make it work. However, leave and let's live says if your life is threatened in any way, you should go. You should leave. I am using my two lips and the tongue and the teeth that helps me to pronounce my words to say that, yes, you should leave. I wanted us to approach the topics, I call it circumferentially, because I heard so many things over the past 2 or 3 weeks, and it's a portioning of blame, and everybody gets a portion blame. The victim, the abuser, the family, the friends, whatever social sectors they belong to, their community, the religious community as well. The point is, none of this is isolated and none of this is 100% responsible. This is a multidisciplinary problem and should be approached as such, multidisciplinary approach. That's why I have people from different walks of life to kind of help us talk about this. I know I'm talking a lot, but I have to preface all of these conversations for the safety of our community. So it can affect you whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you're just living together. So don't be mistaken about that. All right, that's what I wanted to say to start with. I'm going to show you a short clip and we'll start our conversation.
Come on, hit it, yeah. The champ is on the mic. Struggle's ongoing, but I know the battle is the Lord's. Though tears are overflowing, yet my faith remains. In hope I'm pressing onward, no matter what I face, I rise, His Spirit leads me on. All the way, Lord, I pray, help me say, every day that I wake, I will praise You. Every breath that I take, Lord, I will praise You. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher. My daily motion, I am going higher. My daily motion, I'm moving forward. My daily motion, I'm going higher.
And where do you think you're going? Answer me.
Move out of my way.
I said, where are you? Where are you?
Touch me one more time!
You're gonna leave me? Look at you. You're so laughable. And where can you possibly go?
That's none of your
Of
business.
course it's none of my business. Where are my children?
My children are fine!
All right, DM fam. So that is a clip from Daily Motion season one, and I just wanted to share that with you again because we're talking about this issue. It's reawakened in us as though this is the first time. As though this is the first. I know that we're working with sound. Don't worry. Don't mind me. I was saying that that's the first scene of the first season of Daily Motion. And that scene was recorded in 2015. And I need to explain that because sometimes it looks like this is just happening. It's not just happening. And that script was written in 2013. So sometimes we pretend that these things are not going on around us. Now everybody has a voice because it's in the news. But what has brought us to this place is that we have ignored signs, we have kept secrets, and I guess now we hope that it all changes from here. I'm going to start with a personal testimony, is what I'm going to try to start with. I have with me Miss Lola. Miss Lola is here, and she's a woman of God that I know, I love, and I respect so much. She's a fellow worshiper, and sometimes it's nice to just hear it from amongst us, because occasionally when we go through these things, we think we're the only ones in these situations. And it's nice to know that we're not alone. So that if this is what is keeping us bound in these relationships that are not healthy, we can hear it from somebody that we know, we love, we see, and we recognize. Miss Lola was somebody who made a human decision after she had tried everything for her relationship, and I'm gonna let her speak for herself. Go ahead, Miss Lola, and share your testimony with us.
Yeah, thank you once again for having me. It's really an honor to be here. And like I said earlier, I'm so glad that the narratives have changed. You know, it used to be a taboo. You're divorced, or you're separated, or you're having problem in your marriage. It used to be a taboo within African community. And I'm just so glad now that churches are preaching, pastors are preaching about it. Not that I'm happy that people get divorced or something like that, but it's just living abusive relationship that I'm actually talking about. As a single Christian, a teenager at the time, young adult, they told us everything. A Christian single adult, they told us everything we needed to do. And to me, I did everything. I prayed. I crossed every T's. I dotted every I's. I fasted. I went to marriage counseling. I attended different seminars. I was so convinced that my ex, was God ordained for me. So, he was a pastor's child, a born again Christian. And at the time, they will tell you, I'm talking about over 2 decades ago. They will tell you, as long as he's a born again Christian, that's the major, that's the important thing. They forgot to teach us that character is very important. Okay, so I didn't really pay attention to the character. I was just glad that I was a born again Christian. I was glad that I was a pastor's child. So that was the checkpoint for me. So we started the relationship. But the thing though is, I was in this abusive relationship that I wasn't aware of. Um, a lot of us will agree with me with that. Coming from Africa, we didn't know what emotional abuse was. I mean, what is? I mean, nobody ever told me that there was something called emotional abuse. So I wasn't aware that I was in one. until I went to see my counselor one day, and I was actually arguing with him. No, I'm not. I'm not in an abusive relationship. No, 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 no. That's not me. I was trying to defend my ex. I was trying to, kind of, make excuses for him. So this person, this my counselor, gave me a checklist, and it was like, if you check up to six on this list, you are in an abusive relationship. So I checked more than six. So it was like, I told you, you need to do something about it. Anyway, so my thing was, I did not leave because I was so scared of what I, the perception of people, the way people will perceive. I was a worship leader. I was so scared of the judgment. I was so scared of what people will say, and that I loved the guy, and also that you cannot divorce. I read in the Bible, they taught us when we were younger that you can only divorce your partner if he or she is cheating on you. So I'm like, he wasn't cheating on me, so I'm never going to divorce him. So, but then one day, a friend of mine showed me First Corinthians chapter, I think chapter. Let me quickly bring it out. First Corinthians chapter 7 verse 15, and he told me, but if the unbeliever separates himself, let him separate himself. The brother or the sister is not under bondage in such cases. And that was my experience, because this guy kept living. Okay, he wouldn't tell me where he was going. Nobody knew. I had two young kids at the time. We had two young kids at the time. They were toddlers. The first time he left, packed his thing, I didn't know where he was. And I was worried. I was like, maybe something happened to him. Later on I found a letter when he said, oh, he's gone. I didn't need to look for him. I called the police. I called the cops. They saw the letter. They were like, no, it's okay. He just doesn't want he didn't want to be here. So then he came back, and I took him back. And he continued with the character, and so forth, and back and forth. And then he left again. This time for 6 years. I didn't know where he was. He
Wow.
didn't tell us. I mean, he did not call. He did not check up on the kids. He did not call me. We had no clue where he went to. Okay. And after 6 years, he just, out of nowhere, he called again, and he was like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And silly me, ignorant me, took him back again. you know, a friend of mine asked me one day, he said, I mean, my nickname is Lamb's mom. So it was like, see, I'm a guy. I would never leave what I cherish. I would never let go of what I cherish. Now, if a guy can let you go, okay, there's no love, and he doesn't cherish you. So you need to let this guy go. If he comes back, don't take him. Okay, but I still took him anyway, because I was trying to be the good Christian wife. I didn't want anybody to just judge me or stuff like that. So I took him back, and this time he made us move from Chicago to Texas. I changed my life. I stopped everything I was doing, moved because of him to Texas. And within a year, less than a year, he left again. So I'm like, this is it. I'm done. I'm done. I can no longer, I cannot take this anymore. So because of this emotional, roller coaster, I'm like, I said I was done. So, and I went to do the divorce. So, but those signs that I had at the time that I didn't know were like something like isolation. It was so controlling, and so demeaning. So, and when I found out that this is an abuse, I said, that's it. Even if he comes back, I'm not taking him back again, and that was it for me. And I'm glad I did. Um, well, because I don't want to take much of the time. um One thing that and it was very jealous. Let me say that it was very jealous. If you're in a relationship and the guy is jealous of your success, please run. Okay, because it will make statements like, are you the only one that needs to be successful in this house? Stuff like that. And I didn't know at the time, like I said, that those were signs of abuse. So, and it worked out on us, and that was it. Well, one of the thing that I regret that I did not do at the time was put my kids, like take my kids to see a counselor, like for therapy when they were younger. Because we Africans, we really don't believe in that. I'm talking about my generation, kind of. We really don't believe in stuff like that. So I did when they were teenagers, but I should have done it earlier, and it would have helped them better than it did. So I want to encourage anyone here going through, please, even if they are 4 year old, 6 years old, please take them to see somebody. Let them get help. Because it would affect them later in life if they don't get help. And I also want to say, either you stay in an abusive relationship, or you leave, or you separated, the children are going to be impacted anyways. So it's better to make the right choice. If you stay, they're going to be impacted negatively. If you leave, they're going to be impacted. So make the wise choice, on behalf of the children. So what actually saved me? What actually helped me? We were talking about this last week during the daily devotion show going on last week. We were talking about um, service. What can we do? Can we just take a break when you're going through those trauma? Can we take a break from service in the church, or just take a break or stay? So my point of view was, I stayed, and I'm glad I did. I was a choir leader by the grace of God at that time in Chicago, and I'm glad that my pastors gave me the opportunity to serve, because that was therapeutical for me. I had no. There's this saying that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So you need to find something to do, and I'm glad that that was an escape for me. At the time, I did not know. My mindset was, I was just serving God, because I'm used to serving God, all the way from Nigeria. So I was just serving God, but it was later on, a couple of years ago, that I realized that really saved my life. There was no time for me to sit down and think about what was going on, because as a choir leader, you have to be on your A game. Not just the worship leader, but you are the choir leader. You have to be on your A game. You have to have a very good personal relationship with the Holy Spirit, so you could hear from God, know what kind of song you're going to sing for each service, be able to hear from God, who is going to lead the praise worship. And during our own choir rehearsal, we thought it was like just like a mini service. We had Bible study, we had worship session, then we have the choir rehearsal. Then we rehearse the songs. So I had to prepare for all that, and for me to be able to impact this team, I had to be well prepared. My mind has to be intact with God. So I had no time to think, or to be sad, or to just. I was just busy looking for songs, listening to songs, praying, fasting, doing everything possible, so we could have the choir team could impact the lives of the congregation. So that really saved my life. And I thank God for my community and my pastors at the time. They were very, very, very supportive. You still have some church members that will look down on you, like, oh, like, I don't understand why they do that. They'll just look down on you as if you're nothing, or they just judge you. It's like, I mean, anyone that knows me in Chicago, I used to I would go to church. After church, I'm going home, because I was so timid, and I was so scared of, oh my gosh. But since I came to Texas, oh my goodness, my life has changed. And I think one of the reason was, uh, I was able to find out who I am. You know what I mean? When I was in that relationship, I was like, under someone, and I really didn't have time. I really couldn't find out. If you asked me who are you at the time, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But right now, I know myself. I know who I mean, I've been able to find myself out during this singleness, or single period of my life. So I really appreciate that. So that really helped me. And I'm just gonna say this last thing, and then I'm gonna be quiet because of time. Um, my my major thing in life is this. When you think that you've done all you could, you think, okay, I did my part, I prayed, I did everything. I believe it was God ordained. God was in it. And if the person leaves, or didn't want the relationship anymore, you cannot control that. And even God cannot he cannot choose for anybody. God cannot choose for people. God allows us to make a choice. So it's not that you didn't choose well, or it's not that you didn't marry the right person or something, but sometimes just people just make wrong choices. And I believe my ex made the wrong choice, and then he left. So that's so you cannot control people's choices. If they want to leave, let them leave. No, it's not because you didn't, because my I was angry at God for a long time. I was angry at God that I asked you about this guy. I prayed about it. He gave me a go ahead. So why would this happen? I was so angry at God. But then I realized later on, well, you cannot control people's choices. Even if God Himself bring the two of you together, okay, you can get married today. Nobody can control the other person's choices. They're still gonna make the choice they want to make. So, and that's all I have to say for now. I hope I'm able to say some things that will, bless people listening.
You have more than blessed us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you. I love you. This is why our relationship works, because we met at a later time in my life, but the authenticity is what made us click. And it was not just authenticity with living, it was also authenticity in worship. And you worship the way you live, and I cannot but thank God for bringing us together and allowing us to just do life together. Thank you. And it doesn't matter how much time passes between when I talk to Miss Lola. We start as a hello, hello, hello. Doctor! And then forget it. then it starts to roll from there. Thank you so much for sharing that testimony. If you are somebody who is listening to this again, I want you to know that this is a sensitive topic. It might bring some reminders. It might bring some triggers. And so we just want you to know that if you're feeling triggered, write it in the chat, and we'll find a way to reach out to you. And we're going to do this together. We're all going to live. We want to live. That's what we want to do. I was saying for you to congratulate me about getting my co-hosts into this chat today. I'll tell you the trick. My streaming platform only allows me to have 5 guests. 5 total people, 4 guests. And all the testimonies were so important to me that I was like, I have to find a way to get Christy here, my co-host, right? And then I was trying to figure it out. After a while, I just gave up, and I said to her, you know what? I'm just going to give up. You know how much I respect your voice on this and how passionate she is about this topic. And, whatever, I give up. She didn't see that message. 10 minutes before we went live, it was so funny. She texted me and said, I don't care what's going to happen. I'll make it happen. Let's find a way. So I said, get in your car and drive over here. So that's what we did. We drove over here. I tried to set up a station for her, but of course that didn't work. But now say something so they know that they can hear you. Let's test her voice for real.
I get to sit right next to you too.
I
so
know.
Even better.
Like a co-host.
Oh,
like a real co-host.
Right here.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Auntie Lola. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to go to the chats. Daily Motion, we know we're having this conversation together. So I want you to know they were expressing so many things about how strong you are, giving your marriage so much of a chance 3 times and over, and expressing how proud we are of you. And people were talking about church. I want to say 2 things here. Miss Lola, you shared with us, you already mentioned it. Whether you stay or you leave, the repercussions will show up in the children. And you gave us a testimony about your son who was younger when this happened. And there was one statement and question that he asked you time and time again that you shared. Is that something that you want to share here, or is that something that you'd rather not share?
Well, I don't know if he's online. I didn't tell him I was going to say that.
Okay, that's fine. So we're not gonna do that. Yeah, it was. I when I
He's not
listened
gonna.
back to it,
If I
I
say it, he's not gonna do my laundry tonight.
That's right. That's very good. When I listened to it, I was like, I have to make sure this is okay because. So that's good. Thank you so much. We're gonna go to Dr. Tadi right after I say this. The church folks. The church folks are gonna do what the church folks want to do, and even after this live and all the conversation that we're going to have, they're not gonna change. Church folk have been the way they are from before Jesus Christ, church folk, they've been church folk. So it's not going to change. But don't let that affect your truth. You are your truth. Don't let church folk affect your truth. Another thing is, if we have a chance, I want us to talk about it. There are certain denominations where when people have been in a relationship that did not continue, not a failed marriage, a marriage that was successful until it ended, or when people have gotten divorced. There are certain denominations that say those people cannot hold a leadership role in the church. They cannot be deacons, they cannot be pastors, they cannot be this, they cannot preach, they cannot lead a group. I'm standing here tonight to say, let's just stop that nonsense, please. Can we stop that nonsense? Let's just stop it. Please, let's stop it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let's just stop it. I'm a very gentle girl. Let me come back to myself. Let's just stop it. I don't think that is God's design for the ministry to his people. Let's review those things. We're going to go to our clinical psychologist. She's going to share with us. This is not the show where we're going to talk about recognizing this or making sure that you know what's happening to you. I think we know somewhat about the forms of abuse. She's going to mention them some. However, we want to emphasize the types of abuse that are not so obvious. And when I talk about it, I'll talk to you a little bit in certain lingo so that you can help yourself. But I'm going to have Dr. Tadi go ahead and share with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Yemi. Thank you, Sister Lola, for that beautiful testimony. I'm sure it's blessing somebody right now. So I just wanted to go over real quick what abuse is. I labeled it the anatomy of abuse. So what does it look like? In definition, abuse is a pattern of behavior in any intimate relationship. So between a husband and a wife, between a parent and a child, or just common law partners who are living together. And abuse is always is used to gain control over another person, kind of maintain power over that person. If we heard the story of Osinachi, that it was just classic abuse. And of course, we know abuse for what most of us know, that it can be physical, beating, biting, choking, kicking, pulling of hair. Abuse can also be sexual. So even within the context of marriage, I know that we talk about that a lot. Oh, can the man rape his wife? Yes. So when you're done beating her black and blue, then you force her to have sex with you forcefully and she doesn't enjoy it, it is rape. Forcing a person to perform acts against their wish, all this S&M and stuff that people are doing now. Some people do not like it, and you force them to, into those acts. That is abuse. Also, withholding sex from a partner as a form of punishment is also abuse. And that could go both ways, men and women. There are some men that will not sleep with their wives for 2 years. Some women would deny their husband sex for whatever reason. Abuse could be also emotional. You're talking down to a person, insulting them. You're ugly, you can't cook, you don't dress well, you are not good in bed. And, all of those things that you say to lower a person's self-esteem. Even women also do it to men, where you'll say, is that the kind of job your mates are doing? Is this the kind of money your mates are making? You just talk down to the man. For example, you're a physician, you're a nurse, your husband is, maybe just working at McDonald's or whatever it is. I mean, you knew before you married him. All of a sudden you start talking down to him and making him feel less than. That's also a form of abuse. Calling names, comparing, your partner to other people, what we call stonewalling, where you keep malice, keeping secrets, withholding information, cheating, having a side chick, and whether it's known or unknown, sometimes some men have, you know, girlfriends, and they'll tell the woman, well, you should be happy that I even married you. So many women want me. You're withholding affection from your partner. And then there's also, that what we call economic abuse, where you withhold finances, you control the finances, you keep the person from working, you don't allow them to go to school, and then you have full control over the money. They have to take permission before they can spend anything. They don't even have access to the bank accounts. That's a form of abuse. Also, psychological actions or threats that impact another person. So you're telling someone you're going to kill them, and just a threatening that instills fear in someone. Gaslighting, in psychology, it's kind of making someone doubt their own reality. After beating her or him, you say, well, you made me do it. Why do you always do this? And then all of a sudden, the person that's been abused starts to, in their mind, think, I must have done something wrong, kind of trying to adjust their behavior so that they don't get bit, or they don't get abused again. So that's another way of making, gaslighting, making someone doubt their own reality. So they begin to believe that it's their fault that they're being abused, it's their fault they're being beaten. Another one that I got from the United Nations is when you refuse to file a visa, residency, whatever it is, you bring someone to a country and you do not file for them to be able to be economically empowered so they can work. You keep them from their friends, keep them from their family. You restrict their social life. You intimidate them, terrorize them, manipulate, scare them. You hurt them. You humiliate them. In public, some men, they'll slap their wives in public. Some women will, just degrade their husband, call him names, and so this is abuse. And some of the signs, warning signs of an abusive relationship that I want people to know, so that you can pick from it and say, well, as we said in the beginning, that some people don't even know they're being abused. So when you have extreme jealousy in a relationship, jealousy is a sign of insecurity and lack of trust. But the abuser will tell you, oh, it's a sign of love. It's because I love you. That's why I always want to be, I want you to be around me. They question people that you talk to. They accuse you of flirting with everybody you talk to. You're having an affair with everybody. They are jealous of the time you spend with your friends, even your family, even your children. Especially for sometimes people that are, maybe you are maybe it's your second marriage and you brought your children into that marriage, and you have a man that's kind of jealous of your children. That's a sign, or that he doesn't want your children to even have relationships with their own natural parent. You have to be careful of relationships like that. Like I said before, he doesn't allow you to work or go to school because he doesn't want you to mix with people that will teach you, or kind of encourage you to to live your life, basically. Also, they drop by at your work unexpected, always spying on you, checking your emails, checking your phone. They want to know who was the last person that called you. You are the only one that's always you are sleeping with every boss that you have. Are you sleeping with that boss? Look at how you go to a restaurant, you're both sitting down having lunch or dinner, and he says, look at how that man looked at you. I mean, is it my fault that I'm beautiful and a man is looking at me? An abuser will get upset with that, and when you get home, believe me, you're going to get a beating. So those controlling behaviors where one partner completely rules the relationship, makes all the decisions. Like I said, they time you. There's some people, they'll time when you leave the house. They'll check the odometer on your car. So some of these things, it's not because he loves you, especially for young ladies, that if you're in a courtship and somebody is doing that, to you, checking the odometer on your car, checking the time that you You came back questioning where you are, where did you go? Like I said, they check your phone history, your website, your email. You have to be careful with, people like that. Also, we need to be mindful of relationships that start so fast and so intense, because abusers, a lot of them are narcissistic. They come on very strong in the beginning of the relationship. When you hear women that be abused, they will tell you how the man just swept them off their feet. He would, oh, I can't do without you. I can't live without you. I'm going to die if you don't marry me. They will just be so intense. They'll pressure you into a commitment. Before you know it, it'll be like love at first sight. They'll just, excuse me, the next thing, oh my God. And women, it's what we hear. And these men, they know. They will tell you everything that you want to hear. You are the only person for me. You are the only one I can talk to. I always feel so comfortable with you. I've never met anyone like you before. And in the beginning, they're always very charming, very romantic. The love is so intense that, in fact, you won't even know what's wrong with you. By the time you've already gone to the registry, you've signed the papers, and then once he gets you in the house with him, then, next thing you'll be like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends, and you are at home. So, an abuser expects their partner to meet all their needs. They want you to be perfect. The food has to be perfect. The house has to be perfect. Everything has to be spick and span. They will say things like, if you love me, then I'm all you need. You don't need all these people. They will say bad things to you about your family, your friends that you've had for years. They'll basically isolate you from everybody. So when you have someone that either you're dating or someone you have married that is basically talking down about your family, all of a sudden your sister is not a good person, your mom is not good, your friends are not good, then, even tries to take you away from the church that you have been going to, then you have to be careful of, mindful of those signs. Then also, they never take responsibility for their problems. They always blame other people. They'll blame you, especially, you're the one that made me mad. You made me do it. They're usually hypersensitive. They're easily insulted. It's like any little thing. And one thing I want us to know is that I think a lot of people that abuse people, they have mental issues. There's anger problems going on. There's bipolar going on. Because I don't believe a normal person will just beat someone black and blue, threaten to kill them, and actually, even follow through with it. So that we also have to be looking at people that are abusing people, that they need to start getting psychiatric help. So if you know that your husband or your wife has some of these symptoms, don't just chalk it off and start praying and saying, oh, he's going to change, she's going to change. You may need to, either have them check, have them go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. People that, they're usually cruel to animals. They're mean and nasty to people when you go out in public, and you have to learn when you're dating a person, how do they treat other people? How do they treat their family members? How do they talk about their mother, their sister, or friends? So these things we have to be, we have to be careful. Of course, we've talked about verbal abuse. Then, because I was talking about mental issues, there's this syndrome we call Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where they have severe mood swings. So one day he's happy and everything is okay. Another day he's moody. Another day he explodes. Even with women, you never know when she's in a good mood. So we have to watch those signs, especially for those of us that are not married yet. It's very, very important that you look at those signs. If he starts to do all of this before you get married, believe me, it's better for you to be single than go and get yourself into a marriage that's going to be, that you're going to regret. So we need to be mindful. And then if somebody has a past history of battering, you just hear that he used to abuse his former girlfriend, or he said something about maybe they fought, or just watch those little things when they talk about, somebody tells you that maybe he beat up his former girlfriend. That's a no-no. Then you have to be mindful, of course, threatening you. Like we were listening to a testimony the other day when the guy was telling him, I'm going to kill you, I'll break your neck, I'm going to cut you up in pieces with a cutlass. Things like that, even when you guys are dating and a man is making or a man slaps you when you're dating, please do not marry him, because it's not going to stop there. And lastly, because Dr. Yemi said to talk about when do we seek help? You seek help immediately. Once you see all the signs, if you're sitting, if you're on this show now and please find help. There's the domestic violence hotline that is 1-800-799-7233. So it's 1-800-799-SAFE, SAFE. There's another hotline for, it's hope.org. It's 1-800-323-HOPE, 1-800-323-4673. So if you feel like you're being abused, please call these numbers. And I believe Attorney Karen will talk more about some of the options that we have. And I'm going to stop there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tade. That was so good. I mean, that was so good because you paid for your education, but that was so good that a lot of us are quiet on the chat because there's a lot of self-assessment going on. I'm quiet. I myself, I'm self-assessing. And I just wanted us to stop as a family tonight. And because whenever a family member needs us, we stop. The conversation is important, but the family is more important. And I just wanted us to show some love to Miss Mindy. Miss Mindy, just feel the hundreds of hugs and arms that are supporting you and surrounding you right now. She said it's kind of crazy because it feels like she's hearing about her life on the internet. She had shared, and thanks for being so open and honest as well. A lot of people are feeling that way on the chat. You're just able to write it down. I just want you to know that a lot of us are feeling that way. She said her man was a perfect man until he tried to pull her away from everything that was important to her. And she had said it's scary to hear your life on the net. Yeah, it's close to home for a lot of us. And another thing that I wanted us to just understand is that we pretend it's not around us, but when you listen to the statistics, 1 in 4 women are abused, 1 in 9 men are reported abused. That means on this forum, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's at least one of us that has been abused. And wherever you find yourself, in any room you look at, just know that there is 4 people, and if we're females, then one of us needs us. And if we're a mixture of male and females, average it to 1 in 5 to 6. If it's just men, average it to 1 in 9. And I want you to know that it's even more than that, because abuse is so hard to assess because it's underreported. No matter how much report is out there, it is still gravely underreported. So we love you, Miss Mindy, and we're just taking this moment to stop. And I just want to send you some energy, some power, some love. I just thank you, God, for Miss Mindy. Thank you because she's a victor, just like P.I. said. And I thank you because you will continue to complete the work of healing that you have started. Not just for her, but for anyone else at this point who is feeling the same way, just not writing it in the charts. Thank you, Father. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right. Very good. Thank you so much. Thanks, Dr. Tade. Thanks for all of that. You have said all the things that, I was hoping that we get to say. And Attorney Karen, I'm going to ask you in a few minutes if you have anything to add. But I want to add, there's a way that we can kind of assess if this not so evident abuse is going on. And their feelings, I feel, as opposed to being able to pinpoint the action. So there's something we call overt abuse, and there's something we call covert abuse. And overt abuse just means that it's evident, we can all see it, it's out there. Overt abusers, they don't care what people think about them. So when Dr. Tade was saying they will demean you, they will talk down at you in front of family and in front of friends, that's an overt abuser. It does not care what anybody thinks. They would hit you in front of people. They'll drag you on the floor. They'll throw food at you because food is not good. The covert abuse is a little bit more dangerous because they really care about what people think about them. They really want to be the shine partner outside, whether they're boys or girls. They want people to think they're the best people in the world. So all the things that they do are subtle. They also like to highlight all the good things they do. I mean, I've never touched you. I mean, that's such a positive statement, right? Somebody comes out and say, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what she's complaining about. I have never touched my wife. I have never hit her. I have never yelled at her. And sometimes the withholding of the yelling is the abuse. So covert abuse always wants to be, shine boys or shine girls in front of the world. They are always very quick to tell all the things they do. I pay for the rent. I pay for the mortgage. I pay for the house. She never has to spend a dime of her money. I take the kids to school. I help her with house chores. But all of those things, they are hiding something. So that's just a major difference between overt and covert abuse. So if you are trying to assess, as I am, and as everybody on this forum is trying to, because of all the information that Dr. Tati just gave us, then you should know that. I also want to give you these feelings that you can go by, right? I'm going to read a little bit because I don't want to mislead you. So if you're wondering, you can ask yourself, do I feel controlled? And Dr. Tati mentioned something in the beginning of this chat. She said, abuse is a pattern of behavior. So we're not saying this happened to you once, oh, then that's it. We recognize abuse and we call it domestic abuse or violence or intimate partner violence when it is a pattern of behavior. That means there's more than one. It's consecutive. It happens time and time again, even after several apologies. So I feel controlled. Are you living with somebody who their way is always better than your way? There's always a better way to do what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're wiping the floor. There's a better way to do that. It doesn't matter where I started to check myself because I'm always trying to tell Precious where we can park the car. Like when we go to a place, I'm like, let's park here. I want us to park here because the door is right here. When we're ready to leave, we're just going, no, I'm just saying that because I'm really self-assessing as I hear all these things, So, but it's that there's also always a better way to do what you're doing. Auntie Tati mentioned it: cook, clean, take care of the kids. Their way is always better, and they control your dressing, what you will wear. I don't want you to wear that. You should wear this. There's a line in Daily Motion that says, you would look so much better and slimmer if that dress was black. Those kind of conversations you need to watch out for. They are red flags. They want to control your activities as well. Time you spent with your family. You'll hear people say, this place where we're going there 10 minutes and we're out. And this is not just a one-time thing. It's all the time when you're going to be around the people that you love. Also, so that was I feel controlled. I feel afraid. Are you afraid to live your authentic self, to express your desires, or to express the things that grieve your spirit? So when you want to say, oh, I would love to work, are you saying, I don't want to say that because if I say I don't want to work, I know that my partner is going to start yelling? Is that something that happens to you? Or are you saying, I don't want to tell her that I don't like what you did because it's going to turn around and be my fault anyway, So you would say something like, I don't like how you did this. And it's like, you're too sensitive. That's what I'm saying. What did I do? What did I say? That's a joke. You can't take a joke. And this behavior repeats and repeats and repeats. I feel confused, like I am crazy. So Auntie Tati did a good job about that, telling us they try to make you think that the things that are happening are not happening. So you're saying, you have, it looks like you have had 30 side chicks during this relationships. They're like, what are you're just doing that. You're just saying that. When was that? That was just that one time. And then at some point you start to question, am I making this side chicks up because I saw this, I have evidence, I saw this? Or they say something to you like, we're going to spend Christmas with your mom. And you're like planning the whole year, Christmas with your mom. Come November or October, you want to buy tickets and stuff like that. They're like, I never told you that. When did I tell you that? I never told you that. Have you been drinking again? Have you been drinking? Oh, I guess you're doing your thing again. Some of them will hide. Auntie Tati was talking about gaslighting. They would hide their wife's keys or husband's keys from where you usually put it, so that every day you're looking for your keys, so that it invalidates any other thing you say. It's like you don't even know where you put your keys on a daily basis. Something is wrong with you, I'm telling you. Some people have gone as far as taking the keys, going outside to move the car from where you parked it. You wake up the next day, go exactly where you parked the car, and you're like, I parked right here. And they tell you, see what I told you? You're losing your mind. You're losing your mind. You lose credibility. And you're not able to even say that. You're afraid to even say the things you're feeling because you're like, I think I'm crazy. Remember, I feel controlled, I feel afraid, I feel confused, okay? I feel diminished or devalued. And Tati also talked about that. In any conversation, your point of view is not important. If you say, I would like to work, they're like, no, you don't need to work. There's plenty of work to do around the house. The children need you, you know. Nothing you want to do matters. I want to take a trip to here. No, we already decided that we were going to do this, you know, and all that kind of stuff. This part of it is very important. We've said isolation so many times. I feel isolated. Auntie Titi mentioned it. Auntie Tadi mentioned it. Dr. Tadi mentioned it. And Miss Lola mentioned it. You see that I told you that I will not succeed. I will not succeed tonight. Anyway, so, I mean, in calling people what I'm supposed to call them. But, so, feeling isolated. This last one, I want you to pay very close attention to it. I feel objectified. I feel used. A lot of us are in these relationships. I'll give you an example of my cell phone. I like my cell phone a lot. If you know me very well, all my work, medical and non-medical, is on my phone. So you'll find me, even though when you call me, I don't pick up the phone, but I'm always working on my phone. I love my cell phone. But I love my cell phone as long as it serves me. I love my cell phone as long as it serves me. I really don't do anything to take care of my cell phone. Of course, occasionally I wipe it, and a lot of times I charge it. But the only reason I charge it is so that it can serve me. If you are in a relationship and you feel as though all that you are there for is your service, you're not useful for anything else. Not for affection, not for companion, not for fun, communication. But when they need something, you're the best. When you go out to work, they get the money. When you have a new opportunity, they jump into it and, you know, say, oh, let's do this together. You and I can do this together. So you're there really for the service. As long as my phone does what it needs to be doing for me, we're okay. But when that phone, and I'm talking about that phone as a human being, is not serving that other person, that is abuse. It is the very slightest form of abuse, and we need to pay attention to it. I wanted to tell you that. I was going to ask Attorney Karen if she had any addition to that. I know you're back, Attorney. That's okay.
That's all right.
Thank you. That's all right. That's all right.
I
So
apologize. My daughter is on spring break this week, and her friend that was staying with her a few days just had to go because her parents are here to pick her up. So I do apologize for that.
Look, this is a family. We live here to go get food from the kitchen if we need to. That's an exaggeration, but this is a family. So thank you so much for joining our family tonight. So I just went over the subtle, some of those subtle abuse that we wanted to talk about. Was there anything that you wanted to add to that as we discussed? Was there anything that we have left out that you would like to chime in on?
No, I think that was an excellent recapitulation of abuse and its many forms. Thank you, Dr. Tade, for that. For that, those definitions, because it's really sometimes difficult to pinpoint it, and it kind of is a slippery slope. People don't, if it's not physical abuse, people might sometimes think, well, I'm good, he's not beating me, but not realizing all the other ways in which things are escalating in a bad way. And you have to know in order to really seek intervention, know when it's time to seek intervention and how to make your move and to
Thank you.
leave that abusive situation.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask the same question to my co-host, and I have to learn not to look to my right or my left, whatever you're seeing. Go ahead, Christy. Was there anything else that you wanted to add to that, just in the form of subtle abuse, before we move on?
Yeah, I feel that, well, all your other co-hosts said it all, but I feel that, it's almost like, I've heard someone say it's almost like a lobster boiling. They don't know that they're being boiled until it's too late. And I feel a lot of times that, we have all of our insecurities on our own to handle, besides someone else, worrying about how someone else might be feeling. That I feel like a lot of times that we're boiling slowly and not realizing the impact that it's causing us until it's too late. We're pretending that it's not happening or it's not there. And that's when it can get, past the breaking point of, for oneself, for being able to fully feel like you can come out of it. Because I feel like when you don't say something right away, or you don't feel right away, or allow yourself to feel and kind of just brush it under the rug, that's when the hurting can continue. That's when you will start to die within. I feel like your own spirit just starts to wither within, and you start to lose yourself. I feel like there's so many layers that just start to come off and fall into pieces, but yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I'm going to talk quickly about some medical conditions that are associated with abuse of any form. And then we're going to go to Ife. I'll take this time to set up Ife's conversation with us. Ife is a man that I love and respect so much. And I respect his perspective and his viewpoints about marriage and a lot of things in life, about worship, about work, about discipline. And fortunately for him, he has not had a personal experience, whether growing up in a household that was abusive or being in an abusive relationship. He has not had that. But sometimes when we talk about these conversations, it's only female voices in the room. And if there is one man that I know that is able to speak out loud about saying no to domestic violence, it is Ife. And these conversations are not going to change. Though I know that men and women suffer from domestic violence, and I also know that it is disproportionately something that affects women, we still need the men in the room. Men, DM family men. We need you in the rooms where these conversations are happening. And DM family women, we also need you in the room for the other side. They talk about how many people are dying from domestic violence within a minute. I think it's like 20 people are losing their lives or something. Take that in. 20 people lose their lives because our voices are not one. I'm calling on all women and our men to be in the conversation, to be in the room when these conversations are happening. So very quickly, some conditions that, you will see, people will come to your office as a primary care physician who are sometimes the first contact that you will have. If you are looking for, okay, this is happening to me, where do I go? So sometimes people will come in with things like, well, the first one we cannot but talk about is death. That's one of the side effects. It's the greatest one. You could lose your life. People complain about back pain. They complain about memory loss. They complain about insomnia, which is difficulty sleeping. Of course, depression and anxiety. They also have a higher risk of developing diabetes because, of the stress. The stress allows glucagon to actually release more sugar into your system because you're under stress all the time. You also have a tendency to maybe overeat because sometimes food can be an emotional support for people. Some of them have difficulty breathing if they have like lung problems like asthma and stuff like that. It's exacerbated because they literally feel like they're being choked all the time. So it exacerbates their pulmonary conditions, digestive problems. So whether you don't feel hungry or you feel hungry all the time, or your stomach is always hurting. When you're under stress, your stomach acids are always working on overtime. And as they do that, they eat the lining of your stomach. And so people develop things like ulcers and stuff like that. So those kind of things will happen. Also, anything that is stressing you out may cause you to abuse alcohol or other substances, marijuana, heroin, cocaine. So now, not only are you now abusing some substances, now you are going to suffer from all the things that are related to alcohol, so liver disease and all that, increased risk for heart failure and cardiac problems and all of that. Of course, STDs, we cannot fail to mention that, especially when these situations are not monogamous. So much, we're talking about psychological impacts. I also want you to know that there are medical impacts, and that your PCP is the first place to go if you say, I don't even know where to go to start with this. I'm going to go ahead and allow Ife to speak to us. Ife is going to talk about, some of us are already deep in this situation, and we're learning how to recognize them. But before we get into this situation, and I think it is my sis. Hi, Sis Sparrow. I hope you're still here. You're such an important voice here. Thank you so much. She was telling us that some of these things start before marriage, but we go ahead and we ignore them. We want to look into the mind of a man, and we want Ife to kind of share with us what his thoughts are. Pera says it starts before marriage, but ladies either don't pay attention to it, or they allow the emotions and other issues surrounding the situation. For example, perceived lateness in life of marriage, if you think your time is running out or your biological clock is kicking, and pressure from friends and family. And sometimes I want to warn our parents. Our parents will say, hey, this is how I endured in your father's house, and now look what has happened. You are doing well. Your children are doing well. I just want to call out parents that are parents now and parents that are going to be parents. Can you please stop painting abusive endurance as a positive thing in your life? Please. This is my second cry. I don't want to be I'm getting emotional. I don't want to be disrespectful to our mothers and our fathers, but let's stop that nonsense. That's another nonsense that needs to stop. It is not positive that you endured abuse. It is not. Some of our mothers died inside a long time ago, and we could see it, that they were dead. They were just going with the motion. And as children who grew up in that household, we never had a light within us because we didn't see it in our parents. We didn't hope. We didn't dream. We didn't believe because we saw the existence of our parents, mom or dad. So please, stop painting enduring abuse in a positive light. And some people will not only get this from their parents, they would get this from their in-laws. Say, what's wrong with you? Is it only you? Everybody does this. It's not a big deal. This is not something that the world has not said. There's nothing new under the sun. Look at, I'm enjoying my family now. I mean, we have also seen a lot. Anyway, I rest my case. Ife, over to you.
Thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it. One thing I would say, because everybody almost said everything I'm about to say, but I would say abuse is learned over time. It just doesn't start in one day. Like you said, it could be from your family home or the people you see as big uncles around you, and you see where they treat their partner or wife or whoever is around them. So we learn from both our parents and we learn from outside as well. When you surround yourself with people like that, definitely you will become one day. Before marriage, there are signs, and I've not done these things, so but there are signs that I feel like women should look for, and I'm talking as a guy. Um, the first one is when you are in a relationship with a man and everything he's saying is high. Um, when it comes to finances, he's always talking about high. Someone who loves you will always have you in their plan and their future. So if I'm going to be married to my wife, I'm already seeing her in my future, and I will include her in both plans that I'm making for the future. When it comes to finances, when it comes to our children, when it comes to things that I would like to do. Like my wife, before we even got married, I told her every year I would like to take her every around the world. At least we travel 5 times in a year. And she was like, maybe that is insane. But these are the things that I want to make sure we experience. This is when we are still young and we have our teeth, we can move. When we grow old, we cannot travel the world. So these are the things that you should look for. A man that is always saying hi about himself alone, definitely be expecting that when you get into that marriage, it is going to be high eventually. So you are not included in that marriage. The other thing is a man that is justifying every wrongdoing with scriptures when you are still dating. There are men that are really good with scriptures that even when they slap you, they will justify it. God is a man of war. They will quote Bible verses to even justify. So you really want to watch out for those kind of men. And when you are in a relationship, a man is already slapping you like play and poking you, and when because you say something, and he did that the first time, you accept it, he did that the second time, it's going to grow, and eventually it's going to become a real beating. um it might not be while you are dating, but it's already showing signals. When you get into that marriage, be expecting panel beating, because eventually you'll be getting beat up. Well, when you are in there, I don't think you should stay in that kind of marriage. Exit and run. And when I said men that can justify, I know when we go into the front of the altar, we say till death do us part and stuff like that. But when it comes to both physical and emotional abuse, my dear, my brother, my sister, till your life set you free, you better run. Because eventually, if you are dead, then death has done you part. It will move on to the next woman, and you have encouraged that habit of that man to go ahead and abuse another woman. Also, um, who are your friends?
That's so true.
Your friends really matters, because if you have friends who are getting abused and you cannot stand for them, eventually maybe you accept that kind of lifestyle they live in, or you envy of that kind of lifestyle, and you accept it because you are not speaking up on their behalf as well. So you are encouraging that attitude as well, even from dating. Oh, the guy is cute, he's rich, the way he speaks, mates, are you going to let that guy go? You are so engulfed with physical things that you should pay attention to, and he will change, he will change. I will work on him, my dear. He will work on you so bad, and you might end up in grave. So it's better to pay attention to those kind of things. And do you love yourself? Love of oneself is very important. If you have low self-esteem, definitely a man cannot see that part of you to even see that you have value as well. Loving yourself and know your value, know what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, then the man that is marrying you already know that you don't have any value, and he will try to use that to pull you down emotionally. It might not even beat you physically, but you already show show that weakness of your side of yourself to who you are getting married to. So love yourself. Know who you are, whether in the economy side, church, society, anywhere, even place at work, because loving yourself goes a long way. The way you present yourself is the way people will present you. And because you don't love yourself, your husband might not present you right in front of your family or of your friends. And your man is talking down on you in front of his friends. That is another signal too, that that man is not going to really treat you right, and these are going to are the things that will lead to emotional distress. So my advice, whether you are married already and you are in that relationship, please, and you are finding yourself, like Sister Lola said, run. You don't, all those chances that you are given is an encouragement and empowerment to keep moving, abusing, and eventually this man will still go to the next person and still abuse, because it's not going to stop. Death will not do your part. Run.
Amen.
I know it's a covenant that you have made, but church people will say what they want to say, but you know that you might ended up dying in that relationship. There are situations whereby women got abused emotionally and they cannot go forward. When the man is sleeping, they take the knife or cut their private parts, and that's settled the whole case. One person will die for the other, and that has done their part. So run for your life. I will not encourage anybody to stay in such a relationship. That's the little one I will put out there.
Oh my God. I should clap for you, actually. Let me clap for you. That was so good.
So good.
That was so good.
Can I say something really
Yes, please.
quick? Just listening. Thank you, first of all, as a man on this platform, for saying everything that you said. I hope that there's some men here that can, or women here that, are bold to share this with their sons as well. It's so important for us women to share these things with our sons. I think a lot of times we talk to our girls about this because we as women want our children and our daughters to be shielded and don't want what happened to us happen to them. But it's so important for the men, our sons, to know all of this stuff. And boy, oh boy, just sitting here, I wish I had this platform when I was younger. I wish I had these voices saying these things to me, so I didn't feel that I wasn't good enough. So I didn't feel that Christy was a problem, that I didn't feel ashamed to speak up or tell my truth. So I wouldn't have gotten into the things even after I got, after what had happened to me, it kept happening to me because I didn't fix it and I didn't know how. So thank you guys for saying out everything that you're saying, because it's so important for us to have these conversations, and especially with our children. This conversation needs to be just on a megahorn to our youth, so they can understand and know how valuable they are and their identity, and especially in Christ, who their identity is. Because like me, I thought I knew who I was, but until I really realized who I was, then no one, not even the devil, can get a hold on me. So thank you so much for that.
I'm going to... If I just got me really emotional. I'm so sorry, because I believe if there were a lot of men that were able to speak to this, I mean, everybody has been saying so much, but hearing this from a guy makes a whole lot of difference. It makes a lot of difference. And what's getting me a little sad right now is, if the men in our lives are the one that are doing the abusing, then what's the future? Who's raising our sons? And I know that women do abuse men too, but we hear women talk about it a lot more than we hear men. So I just wonder, I'm looking and hoping for a day when we will have this kind of forum and there will be 5 men and just 1 woman. I'm hoping and I'm praying. I mean, like I shared, this has been my heart's cry for the past 10 years. This is the reason for Daily Motion. This is the first topic that I wanted to talk about because it's been going on that long. I'm just calling out men. I'm sorry, I'm very ugly when I smile and when I cry. So, but it's all right. But if I thank you so much for that. You said some things that I wanted to highlight. Listen to this statement. It says, abusers usually believe that it is an entitlement, that it is acceptable, that it is justified, or unlikely to be reported. They are banking on, male or female, that you're not going to say anything. They could almost bet that you would not say anything. So this is one thing I want to cry out about. You know, I see I'm having a lot of outbursts here. The first time somebody hits you, or you recognize that somebody is abusing you financially, emotionally, sexually, culturally, and culture includes religion, spiritually, like P.I. was saying, like they know going to church helps you, and then they say you can't go to church. You cannot live, you cannot take my child to church, you cannot, all those things. The moment you wake up to yourself and you realize it, make a scene. The very first time somebody hits you, make a scene. The very first time. We always ask, how many chances do I give this person? When should I report? Was it a mistake? Somebody on the forum said, what kind of mistake is that? The very first time, even if you know you are going to stay in that relationship, tell somebody. Report to your family, report to his family, report to your pastors, report to your friends. Let everybody know. Because when that first one slides, he or she is banking on the fact that you're not going to say anything. And that's how it happens. So if you are going to stay in that marriage, you're not going to move out of that house, but it just accidentally happened. Make a scene. Boy, girl, make a scene. Make it big. Loud it. Because the abusers are banking on the fact that it is unlikely to be reported. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ife, for sharing about people justifying bad behaviors with scripture, male and female both. Mm-hmm. And we said, we were laughing because, he said, God is a man of war. But that's not the only way that they abuse you with scripture. Mm-hmm. There is a saying in my language that says, Okoluluriaya. It means the husband is the head. I am the head. I am the head. I am the head. The wives will also come back to say, I am the neck. I will turn you whatever way I want you to go. So abuse goes both ways. You have to understand this. When people are making all the decisions about your money, about your life, about your investments because I am the head, that is scriptural abuse. Because that's what they pull from the Bible. So they don't even have to tell you God is a man of war. All those subtle things. I am going to go ahead and let my co-host at this point, hang on, Daily Motion family. We're going to get laws and, steps to take. I really want us to, this is not a, let's identify what is emotional abuse. This is how am I going to live? That's what this show is about. If you are in this situation, how do I get out of this? How do I report this? How do I make this better? And Attorney Karen is so gracious and hanging out with us tonight. And all of us are going to contribute to that, including the Daily Motion family. But before we do that, I want Christy to take like 5 minutes. She's going to share just a little of her testimony. And I was hoping she just continued to talk when she was talking about she didn't have this kind of counsel or this kind of platform. Just to share what maybe 2 experiences that stand out for you, and how were you able to leave? What happened? Like, how did you say, okay, this is it? Go ahead, Christy.
Well, I'd never thought that I would get to that point because I was always that person that was like, I'm stronger than that. I got this. I'm never going to let anything like that happen to me. You know, I was very proud, I guess, until it happened to me, until I allowed it to happen to me. And I allowed it to happen to me because I was also, at that very point, so as weak as he was. I feel like he was a lot weaker because he put his hands on me, but I was very weak and vulnerable, and he knew it at the time. So I allowed it to happen a handful of times, and I applaud what Yemi said because I didn't speak up, I didn't yell, or I didn't cry for help. The one time that I should have cried for help was when someone was knocking at the door because they heard me yelling from the abuse. And that brave person, because a lot of people I know wouldn't even knock on that door. Would you knock on that door? Or would you let them hash it out, you know? Because I believe that a lot of people wouldn't knock on that door. They just be like, oh, let them do their thing, or let them figure it out, or they're just going through something. But someone knocked on the door, and I just went silent. He went silent, I went silent. And it was out of fear, it was out of shame. Like in that moment, it was like I should have said something. That was like my out. That was the one time that I didn't even have to say anything because someone was there saying it for me. Do you need help? And I didn't say anything. We both just got quiet. And after that, he stopped and I stopped and we walked away, and it was still like this, the energy and the tension in the house. It was so strong, and it was like, I'm not done yet. But he knew, because I didn't say anything, that he wasn't done yet. So that's why I second, third, fourth, fifth what you said about say something, be loud about it. And I know in that moment when that person is allowing the abuse, it's the hardest thing to do because we're in that. We feel like we've allowed it, and we feel like we've dug our grave and we're going to lay in it. And so we don't say anything because of that shame. Again, I was raised in the church. And I didn't want anyone to know my struggle because I was shamed. I felt shameful of the things that I allowed to happen to me, or I was ashamed that people would find out, oh, you know, Christy, she sings worship and she's all on stage and she does all this, and all of a sudden, oh, I can't believe this is happening to her. You know, this is happening. All the voices around, you know, that are going on. No one's even saying anything. But in my mind, I'm thinking all this stuff. I'm making all this stuff up in my head that people might say or not say. And finally, I would say the point of when I was done is when I ended up being pregnant with this person, and I was on the ground, and he was kicking me in my stomach with the baby in my stomach. And at that point, I said, this is it. This is it. This is it. Like it was like, now you're not messing with just me. You're not messing with just me. You know? So finally I said, and he would leave a lot. He would leave a lot, you know, and come and go when he'd want to, do what he'd want to, and I'd have to just kind of be like, you know, are you gonna take me out with you, or are we gonna go out together? And he'd just be like, well, I'm gonna go out with the guys or do whatever to come back, and I'd just be there. So at that point, I finally said, I can't live in this anymore. I don't know what came over me, that's what came over me. It wasn't just about me anymore at that point. So I was able to let him know that I don't want him to come back in the house, that if you do, I will call the police. And he didn't come back in the house. And that was so hard for me because I had this baby growing inside of me that belonged to him. So it all made sense, and I understand you wanting to take that man back that you had children with, that you shared children with, because it made sense, because you were a family. It made sense because this is a person that is giving, this is my first child, my very first child. And so I only thought, this is, I need him here because this is what we do, especially in the church. We stay with our husbands, we make it work out, we make the relationship work out. This is what we do. And I said, I can't do this. You need to leave. So after that, I called my mom and I asked her I was actually living in California at the time. And I asked her to come pick me up. I said, bring 3 huge suitcases, the biggest ones we can find, and with nothing inside of it. So I could pack everything that I could, and we can leave. Because I ended up staying there. We separated, and I had my child, and after 3 months, I finally left because I felt, and I was still prideful. Like I didn't want to burden my family. I didn't want to burden the people around me with the situation, with a child that I know that I'm going to leave and be a single mother. And so finally at 3 months, I'm like, I can't do this. She needs family. We need community. I need to leave. So she came with 3 huge bags. We left and we came back to Chicago, and the rest is kind of history. But I surrounded myself with people at church. I surrounded myself with women and youth, and not to say that was all a shining rainbow story either, because I ended up getting married out of, I would say, not necessity, but it was, I had a child at the time, and I didn't want to be single with a child. I wanted to have my daughter be rose with a father. So I ended up saying this man that I ended up marrying asked me very quickly if I wanted to marry him in front of a lot of people. And I was like, I can't believe he's asking me this after 6 months. And I said, okay, but I'm going to tell everybody, if you're not married yet and someone asks you and you're not ready yet, you could still say yes, but behind closed doors, you could say no. You don't have to commit and go through it. But I was sharing a lot. I was sharing a lot of my life with the women in the church. I felt that they were people that I can confide in, especially since it was the church. And that totally took a back seat and kicked me in the butt because after we were having issues, I will be praying for you, sister, was them talking about me and my issues. And it was very disheartening. And it wasn't that I didn't know that God loved me, or that he wasn't going to surround me with people that I needed, but people are people and God is God. And in that moment, I had to separate that. I couldn't blame the church, because I wanted to blame the church, not the church, just, but I wanted to blame, like, oh, these people, the church is supposed to support me. The church is supposed to be there for me. And then all of a sudden the church is talking about me. The church is, whispering and saying all these things behind my back as the marriage was crumbling. So for me, it's been a very long journey. I love that there's a platform like this, and I'm in platforms like this because I believe that the more that we share, the more that our authentic truth is told, the more people can become free. Their shackles start to fall off right in front of you. It was so embarrassing for me in the beginning to share any of my story of going through having abuse, having not be with the father of my first child, then getting married and having that crumbling. It, like, to even say those words, it's still, you feel shamed. Like, you feel shame, like there's something wrong with me. But as soon as I would open my mouth to say that to somebody that I know that needed to hear it, because they were sharing their life with me, but like this much, I started opening up. And they're like, well, you went through that? You did that? But here you are now? I said, the reason that I'm here right now, and the reason that I'm here that I could share that, is because every time I open my mouth and tell my truth, I become freer and freer. And so the people then all of a sudden start to open up, and it's just like they just start vomiting everything that they've ever wanted to say, everything that's been packed down, that they've always been told or thought not to tell, or to shove away, to hide, because they don't want to embarrass their family. God forbid you embarrass the family. God forbid that you embarrass the church. God forbid that you embarrass, your own self. But I know that I am a child of God. I know that I am beautiful no matter what they say. There's a song that Christina Aguilera goes, I am beautiful no matter what they say. Words can bring me down. And so I'm like a jukebox for Jesus, by the way. I start busting songs out. Like, I hear a message and I'm like, yeah, and a song starts to come out. And I'm like, but that's what I hear. When I hear things like that, or when I feel a certain way, all of a sudden a song will come to me and I'll start singing. I am beautiful. I'm like, why am I singing that song right now? Because God is giving me a word in that song, in any song that I'm singing. So at this point of my life, it took me a while to get back to the community of women that I felt hurt me. But you have to really feel and know the women that you're surrounding yourselves with, to have these trusted conversations. And not only that, when you are the person having the discussion being told to you, you have to know what not to say, who not to tell. Shut your mouth, because it's not your business to say anything. If someone's coming to me in confidentiality, they're coming to just me in confidentiality, not to my husband, not to my friend, not to my church, whatever, to me. So allow people to be able to come to you and feel that they can trust you, because that's where it starts. Because who are they going to come to? Who? If we can't come to people in the church, if we can't come to a doctor or whatever, they need to know that they have someone there that they can trust and that they can confide in and that they can feel real with. Because if you don't tell your story, then they're never going to know that you went through something, or that you can, be there. And I remember there was a time in my life that I felt, that was the time that I was going through my marriage that was ending. I felt like I had nobody behind me. Like I said, especially the women at the church that I was confiding in. And some of them were family. I know that's not a shock. So I remember feeling so alone. And I felt like no one was there. And I'm like, who am I? Everyone knows me. Everyone knows that I'm not perfect, but I was always there for everybody, always doing things for people. And not to say that I wanted somebody to do things for me after I would do things for them, but you always feel like, okay, if I'm always going to be a helping hand, I'm sure someone's going to be there for me. Someone's going to be there to lift me up or make me feel better. I felt that there was nobody there, no one in the church. One day, one person came to my door, knocked on it, and it was like, I felt like it was the craziest moment in my life, because no one was calling me, no one was coming to my door. Nothing. When I would have tons of people coming to my door, tons of people calling me all the time, nobody was coming. Nobody when I needed them the most. So the one person that came to my door brought me, it was my cousin, my one cousin, one person. She came with a big, huge bowl of soup. Huge bowl of soup. And I just started weeping. It was a stupid bowl of soup. But to me, it was everything, because it showed how much she cared about me. And it wasn't soup that she just opened up with a can. It was like she made it with her own hands. She thought about me. She was thinking about me when she was making that soup. And I knew that. As soon as I opened the lid, I knew she made that soup, because I know what she makes. She's an amazing cook. That meant the world to me, and that transformed my life from that moment on. That one bowl of soup. So you can be that person that gives that person one bowl of soup, whatever that is, whatever that might be, if you don't have the words to say, give them a bowl of soup, because that means the world. That to me was a lifeline, the one lifeline that I needed the most. That was the life preserver that someone threw off the boat to save me from drowning in my own depression, in my own anxiety, in my own sorrows. That was that lifeline that I needed. And I just praise God for that person. And she's still an advocate, and I know exactly why she's in the ministry that she's in today, because she's done it. If she can do it for me, she can do it for other people. And I say that to you guys. If there's someone that could do it for me, we can do that for someone else. We don't have to say anything. We don't have to say anything. I feel like a lot of times we feel like we have to say, okay, what am I going to say? I have to say something. Oh my God, okay, maybe I shouldn't say this. And we're sitting there scripting what we're going to say to our friend or our family member. You don't got to say one word. But just do a simple act of kindness, and that will go 1,000 miles in their heart. I love you. Thank you. But tell your story. Tell your story, because your story is freedom, not only for someone else, but for yourself. Because the devil continues to try to put those shackles on. He's like, ooh, I got another link in there. Oh, this one's open. It's not closed yet, but I'm going to close it soon. You know what I'm saying? So don't allow him to close those links. When you tell your story, they just start to fall off.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Christy. We love you. You know I love you. DM fam, if you had that question, I don't know what to say. That's the answer. There are people who are suffering in silence amongst us. Really, indeed, people are dying. And not only are they dying physical death, but like they are dead inside. They come to us, we go to parties together, we go to church together, we sing together, we usher together, no matter what it is that you do in the service of God. And we think we're serving God, but Christ came on earth to serve people. And this is another cry that I'm going to have, and then we're going to a literal cry. And then we're going to talk to Attorney Karen about, just practical steps to take. I'm sorry. We're interested in our religious organizations, just like the relationship I have with my cell phone. P.I. said she didn't know there was cell phone abuse. That cell phone is actually a person. You're in a relationship, and all you're doing is serving the other. And I don't want to talk about spiritual abuse in the way that the church spiritually abuses people. It could be a church, it could be an organization. As long as you show up, they'll take your service. And people are dying. They're dying. And this is a faith-based show, so we can't help but talk about church. No church in particular, every church. They're dying, yet as long as they're able to show up, work the pantry, help the kids, serve food, preach a sermon, then they're okay. They're not okay. And it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay for us to not reach out to people who we know are hurting. We go to parties and we see them dancing. It's okay to just give them a pat on the back. You don't understand how much saying nothing helps. You don't have to say anything. Let's not have a cell phone relationship with people who serve in our ministries. Let us take care of people. People. That's what this is about. It's not about the programs. It's about the people. I'm going to stop. Thank you. Attorney Karen, sorry, I've thrown so many tantrums, and today is the second day you have met me. I'm sorry,
okay.
This breaks my heart.
No.
Please share with us, and thank you so much. DM fam, thanks for your love, and you're still on here. Thank you. I wanted to talk to the attorney, and I said I wanted us to take a circumferential view of this issue, because when people even recognize that they're in an abusive relationship, whether it's physical or other forms, they're so lost they don't know where to go first. And I have said to you, a PCP, a primary care provider with your primary doctor, if you have one, is a good place to go. Of course, you'll go to your spiritual counselors, and like Auntie Tade said, they will make the right referrals because they cannot care for all the issues that you have. They can do the prayers, but they're not the ones to do the counseling if they're not licensed. Go to the licensed counselors. And I wanted to share, there's free counseling and there's one I posted on my Facebook page, and it's from Northwestern, the Betty Harris Clinic, and it's a free clinic. If you don't have insurance, you can call, and I'll put that information up in a little bit so that you can see it. If you have insurance, you can use your EAP, Employee Assisted Program. And these people that we contract for as employee assisted programs, a lot of my patients will say, I don't want to talk to them. They're like work. They think they're related to work. They're not related to your job. They're just contracted by your job. They don't know you most of the time. They will never see you if you're doing it virtually. So please take care of it. If you want to pay privately, Auntie Tade mentioned, just go to psychology.com and find, what is this? Psychology Today is what it is.
Psychology
And
Today.
And find a provider that can help you. There are online platforms now since COVID has happened, and it's so many. I mean, I know we've talked about BetterHelp on this cast before, and so many others. So Google is your friend. If you Google free counseling, there might be a wait. Everybody is in counseling now. And like Antade said, even the counselors are in counseling right now. If they were not before COVID, now they are. So please find a counselor. If you know me, talk to me. If you don't know me, DM me. If you come across this cast, DM me. And we'll find a way to get you some help. So we do go. When people's lives are threatened, we don't know where to go. Sometimes I'm like, do I need to call a lawyer or do I need to call the cops? Like, where do we go? And we get so confused about what to do. And Attorney Karen is here to kind of help us with that. Please take it away.
Sure. So to answer your question, first of all, I want to make sure you understand when your life is being threatened, when you're being beaten, that is not the time to say, oh, let me go and find my lawyer's number in my phone. You need intervention right away. So obviously you want the police involved if they have to make a visit out to your home. The name of the game here is to get yourself to safety when it's required. Now, if you are undergoing physical abuse, like I said, you're being beaten, you definitely want the professionals that are going to assist you immediately. Okay, so I just want to be clear about that. Don't call your lawyer when you're being beaten within an inch of your life. Obviously, that should be obvious, but people, like you said, they don't know sometimes what to do. But I did want to say that an order of protection is what most people are going to be seeking when they need someone to protect them. And I want you to know that also in Illinois, there is an Illinois Domestic Violence Act. There is an Illinois Criminal Code. So it's not like there is law behind this. There is law to help you. There is law that you can avail yourself of. I know a lot of people come from different places and they're not used to, this type of thing, and they think they just have to take it. There is a specific Illinois Domestic Violence Act, and that is what is used to protect you. There's a criminal code preventing this type of behavior or making punishment for this type of behavior. So I want women to be clear that there is a law that prevents this. So I think we spoke the other night about a restraining order versus a order of protection. I want people to understand that a restraining order is generally, for example, in a divorce case, you're trying to prevent certain behaviors. Like in a divorce case, there might be a restraining order against one spouse from canceling, say, the life insurance policy of the other spouse, or preventing a spouse from, selling a property that they might have and taking all the proceeds. But in order to protect, that's the restraining order is just kind of like compelling someone to do something or not do something. Or if somebody has posted some disparaging photos or remarks on their social media, oh, my wife is this, that, and the other. A restraining order would say, hey, you got to take that down. But an order of protection is to protect you and other protected persons. It could be your children, it could be elderly parents. You know, some unfortunately cases, unfortunate cases where there's a parent, a mother-in-law living there. Even the mother-in-law is being abused. So when you get an order of protection, you're protecting yourself. You can protect property. You can protect people. It's all within a bubble of protection. And it's not just limited to physical abuse. It could be stalking, it could be harassment, it could prevent them from showing up at your job. I think we talked about that on this call or on this live before. You know, prevent them from showing up at your job, prevent them from calling and harassing you, protect the children from intimidation or threats of abuse, things like that. So it's a more all-encompassing remedy that I think in these type of cases that people need to seek, not necessarily women, but whoever needs that protection. I've even seen, men seeking this order of protection. It protects on a much larger scale, I would say. And it's last. Now, when you go and get an order of protection, it's going to be if you seek an emergency order of protection, you're saying to the court that, my life is in such grave danger. We don't even have time to have the sheriff go out and serve my spouse like in a normal proceeding. Like in a divorce proceeding, the sheriff would go to your spouse's residence or place of work and serve them the papers. But when you're seeking an emergency order of protection, you're telling the court that, no, we don't even have time for that. I'm here. I'm going to tell you what's happened to me. Look at my black eye or whatever evidence you have. And once you're granted that emergency order of protection, that's going to go into effect until they can get the sheriff over to serve your spouse. So when you have your spouse served is when you will then have a hearing. So I just want to let you know that the emergency order of protection is right away, and then the interim order of protection will last until there can be a hearing, hopefully within a matter of days or weeks. And then the plenary order of protection lasts for 2 years, and that can be renewed if you're successful in proving your case. That plenary order of protection lasts for 2 years, and it can be renewed for an unlimited number of times. So if it expires after 2 years and the threat is still there, then you can always go in a few days or weeks before it expires and have it renewed. So I hope that brings a little clarification on what types of remedy you can seek. Also, there's a living situation. I think we talked about this briefly too. For example, say you're living in a space, in an apartment, say, with your spouse, and you're both on the lease, and you're being abused physically, but you want to cancel the lease. Did you know that the law will allow you to cancel a lease in certain circumstances to get yourself to safety if you need to? So, like I'm saying, there's a lot of protections available. You can cancel a lease, you can have that person removed off of the lease. There's a wide variety of things you can do when you're in a housing situation with someone who is being abusive towards you. Also, you can petition for, if you're not in an apartment, say you're in a home, you can petition the court for, now if this is a divorce case, usually what happens is the order of protection is filed first, and then they'll file, perhaps if their marriage can't be salvaged, they'll file a divorce, and then those cases get merged. So the order of protection is dealt with giving the spouse the immediate relief that needs to be had in terms of their own physical safety. And then the divorce comes into play, dealing with the assets and the visitation if there's children and so forth. So then once you're in a divorce and say you're in a house, you can get certain remedies like being given exclusive possession of the marital residence, things like that. So that's kind of how property can come into play in these types of situations. What else did I want to say? Also, steps to take immediately. Obviously, get yourself to safety. Have a plan. First of all, have a plan. The Bible says, let all things be done decently and in order. No, you can't just flee with your children to another state. You can't leave the country with your children because that's what's known as parental kidnapping. You're only supposed to remove the children when you have court authority to do so. And you may think, well, I'm being beaten, I'm scared for my children, and I got to flee. But there's a way to do these things. And the immediate thing to do is to get you and your children to safety, whether that's having the offender removed or you going to a place of safety. Please do that instead of taking your children off to another state because you have a sister living, say, in Indiana or something like that. Because what's going to happen is if the person is particularly vindictive and you've taken the children and gone to another state with them, they can have grounds for saying, this is parental kidnapping. Also, as a practical matter, if you up and move to another state, I was just thinking, how are you going to be able to file anything in that state? Because most states require you to have a residency a residency requirement before you can file anything in that state. So how are you going to wait, for example, 90 days in the state of Indiana when you need relief right away? So as a practical matter, and as a legal matter, it's just not wise to up and go to somewhere else with the children. Get yourself to a place of safety and then, go from there with respect to what you need to file. And going back to when to bring in a lawyer, a lot of times people go into, I don't know if they're still doing it during the COVID times, but they would go to the domestic violence courthouse at 555 West Harrison. And on site, they have free legal helpers to help you file the initial petition and get you started, get the emergency order of protection in place. Now, when you want to have a hearing, might be when you bring in a lawyer because you want it to last. You want it to last, the 2 years. So I think for your immediate concern, get it filed, get the free legal help that's available to you, either online or at the courthouse on Harrison. And then think about, okay, now is when I need to bring my lawyer in because I want this thing to last as long as possible. Plus, I might need to be filing for divorce, so I'm going to need assistance with that. So it's not necessarily the first call, like I said, is to the lawyer because there's free legal resources available to you before you even have to go and bring in an attorney. We also briefly talked about, like, as part of your planning, there's some practical things you need to be thinking about. Now, I've heard people say, well, he's spying on me with the phone and he's recording my calls. There's some practical things to do in terms of maybe getting a burner phone. It's not just for, nefarious people. If you have a second phone that you have access to or a neighbor's phone so that, you're not being, when you're calling for help or you're calling to investigate resources, you're not being, looked at in terms of my spouse knows I have this phone and he's going through it. You might want to use another phone or somebody else's phone to do that. You also have to be aware of apps. I hear that they're putting on these phones to track your calls. Even on your car, they're tracking you. So those are the things you kind of want to be aware of. If you're making an escape plan, say your situation isn't so dire, but you have to leave or you have to get away and out of this situation, you might want to think about creating, a different email account, because if your spouse is going through your email, obviously that's not going to work. If you have to use another laptop or somebody else's laptop so you can start getting information together and finding out what you need to do, that might be wise. Just be aware that with the technology today, there's always all kinds of ways of tracking people and monitoring them, even though it may not be legal. And you think, well, he has no right to do this or she has no right to do this. You have to think in terms of what can I do to minimize my escape plan being found out. If I have to go to a library and get on their computer, then so be it. Just be aware of those type of things when you're trying to think of having an escape plan in place.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so good. That was so good. Thank you so much. And I know that, also this is the internet and you may not have questions that you can ask, because then this is part of being safe. Okay, so I want to ask your permission. If I have a question from somebody who contacts me, can I call to ask you? I'll call myself, because I'm trying to encourage us to think of scenarios of what we need. We have a lawyer here, guys, what we need information about, but I do understand we're live, and that we can't do that. But say, a lot of us, I'm African, and so is Christy, Olua Christy. She's not African. So we're not used to men leaving the home for us, right? So usually what happens to, maybe I'm Nigerian, so Nigerian woman is, if there's going to be a divorce, they're going to send you out of the house, and that's what we're used to. And even when we cross the 7 seas, we're still thinking that, I just have to leave the house and go away, whether with my children or without my children. And I know that, you've told us about state lines and stuff like that. And especially if there is safety issues, don't die because you want to be in the house. But we had discussed about, the primary residence, and what can you do to ensure that if you have, say I have kids, they're in a school district, I don't want to go, my life is not in danger, meaning that there's no blood, I'm not ready to die now, they're not going to kill me. What can I do with those kind of situations? Do I have to leave? Do they have to leave? What happens in that situation?
Normally, depending on when the house was purchased, if it's purchased during the marriage, it's marital property, then each spouse has a right to the home. It's going to take a showing um, of you not being safe in the home, or the children not being safe in the home, that will give you exclusive possession to that home. Also, courts, when there's children involved, tend to take into account the best interests of the child. Is it in the best interest of the child for them to be going to some other school in the middle of the school year? Not likely. So a lot of times when there's children involved, um, the idea is to keep the children in as stable an environment as they can until all matters are resolved. So when there's no physical violence, for example, the mother has been, the primary caregiver while the father works. I've seen cases where, the father will go and find himself, a little place to stay, and even be ordered to continue making payments on that home until such time as it can be either, sold and he bought out, or, the proceeds split. It just depends on how uh, the situation in each marriage is, but it's not unheard of for the woman to be in the marital residence, or whatever spouse is at a disadvantage financially and who is the primary caregiver for the children, to be allowed to stay in the home. So the notion of, oh, I must leave, my husband is going to send me packing because of our culture, it doesn't really exist here. I mean, there's all types of laws and statutes in place in the Illinois Marriage and Dissolution of Marriage Act that will govern this type of situation. It's best now, this type of situation where your life is not immediately threatened, it's best to go over your options with an attorney, because a lot of that is going to depend on your income and your contributions to the marriage and things like that. There's a little more nuance there. So it all depends. It's not a blanket rule like, oh yes, the wife can stay because she's a woman, and then he has to leave. It depends. But just know that there are those type of options available.
Good. Thank you so much. So whether the male is the victim or the female is the victim, depending on the details of your finances and marriage, there's I think what is it called? File possession of exclusive possession of primary residence or something.
Of the marital
You say it.
home,
It's not
yeah.
Tylenol, so I don't know how to say it. Is that what it's called?
Exclusive possession of the marital residence. Now that has to first, it's a marital residence, meaning it can't be something that one spouse owned before the marriage. because that, is, well, if it was, if it was purchased in contemplation of the marriage, then okay, there might be some things there, but you have to first make sure it is in fact the marital residence and that both parties are entitled to it. So there's some legal things at play there.
All right. Thank you so much. I know that sometimes, people have, so people tap the phones or they get apps that can record your conversations and stuff like that. And occasionally, when the situation in the home is not, conducive, we have these phones now that can record everything, even shoot a film. People are recording, like every word I say is being recorded. My videos have been, taken, even for just being around the house, sort of like a gathering of evidence kind of thing. Are these kind of evidences, are they admissible in court, these recordings or video recordings? Can you talk about that?
Well, the audio recordings, generally, you cannot use audio recordings of a phone conversation when the other party who's being recorded has not given you their permission or does not know that they're being recorded. The video recordings, I have not seen where those have been successful either, because it just depends on what exactly are they trying to prove. Like adultery, I mean, that's not even a grounds for divorce anymore. So if you're using video, for example, to try to prove adultery, that's not going to be admissible, because the only grounds for divorce in Illinois now are irreconcilable differences. So a lot of the things people are doing, as they say, they're like doing too much, because a lot of it's not going to be admissible anyway. You have to think of what purpose is the video being used for. Now, if you're trying to show that the other person is an unfit parent, should not have, visit, or what they don't call it visitation anymore, they call it parenting time. If you video your spouse abusing a child physically, sexually, God forbid, anything like that, obviously that's going to be permissible. But for what purpose? To show that this person should not be around this child. This person should not have custody of this child. This person is not fit to have unsupervised visitation with this child or parenting with this child, or that this person needs to be in jail, depending on how serious the crime is. So it's not like, oh, let me walk around with video and catch so and so in the act, because what ultimately is that video going to serve to prove? What are you trying to prove with the video is going to be the determining factor of whether that video is allowed. And like I said, when people think, oh, I'm going to, hire a private detective and catch her in the act, okay, you got her. But adultery, is not a grounds for divorce. And so, in the other instance, like if you want to show that they're spending money unnecessarily, that they're dissipating marital assets, going to the casino, spending it on a mistress, maintaining a mistress in opulent lifestyle in their own apartment, then yeah, for proof of not necessarily that having a mistress is bad, but if you're trying to prove that, yeah, these assets are being wasted, I need more to cover what he's or she's spending over here. So like I said, it's about the proof. What are you trying to prove with your video and your so forth and so on?
Thank you so much. It is going to be 9:30, and I do want us to leave. And Daily Motion fam, can we please just express gratitude to everyone that has spoken to this topic by grace and by power only. And when I say grace and power, I mean the grace of God and the power of God, because this is such a sensitive topic that it is not, either the psychological or legal or medical or personal testimony of just being a living human that allows you to be able to talk on this issue. So to Christy and Ife and Karen and Lola and Dr. Tali, thank you so much for pouring out what is you and your passion for this topic tonight. DM fam, please, can you just express that love as much as you can in the chat? I'm gonna try to sing a song to close. I always feel like whenever Christy is around, I always feel like please let her sing all the songs because I just want to be hearing her voice. But the thing is that there is a message in that song that we're going to close out with tonight. And the message is that the song talks about, in the fullness of your grace and in the power of your name, you lift us up. People who are experiencing this kind of things are really the loneliest, and they feel so down. And somebody mentioned self-esteem, and my question was, what is that? Nothing, no even sense of self anymore. So how are we even going to reach self-esteem? So it takes the power of God to really lift these people up, and they're not far from us. Like I said, if you follow the statistics, one of us here on this screen has experienced this. One of the 4 people on the chats have. And 20 people are being abused every minute, physically. I'm not even talking about all the other forms. 20 people. And when I say 20 people are dying, because I said that in the beginning, 20 people are dying every minute. And I don't want you to take that as only a physical death. I'm saying we have proof that whether they are dying inside or they are losing their lives and no longer exist on the face of the earth, that's what happens in a case of domestic violence, no matter what form it is. Thank you so much, Daily Motion family. I said in the beginning and I repeat again, this place is not no place except your voices here, and I really appreciate that. And my Joy Girl, thank you so much, my Joy Girl, and my favorite person, my favorite Haven of Love person, because Joy Girl, your job is so many on this show. Is host, is producing, is everything. She asked a question and she said, how can we help the abusers? Very important question. How can we also help the abusers? They also need mental, psychological help as well. We can't let them continue in that behavior. Another person will become a victim. And that's such an important way to close this out. Also, for them to come out of that behavior, it's going to take the grace of God and in the power of the name of the one that we all dedicate and yield our lives to. If I mentioned something before about, and I'm going to come back to that. But in answering that question is to say, how can we help them? We're going to help them by not being silent. That is the first thing that I know each person on this forum can do. By not being silent. Some of us sometimes we have family members who are the abusers, and we remain silent. We refuse to say anything. We do not speak out. We do not help them. If I mentioned that abuse is learned, that's a very heavy topic, because children who are growing up in an abused home right now don't see anything wrong with abuse, whether being hit or being the person that hits, being talked down on or being the person that talks down on people. So some people, this is how they have learned to live. This is what their norm is. So really, indeed, it's going to take the power and the grace of God to pull people out. But that's not the only action we have to rely on. Say something. If they're your brother, say something. If they're your sister, say something. Make it loud and make a scene. And let them know that their assumption that this is going to go unreported is false. When we all start speaking up, then we can surround them with counseling, just like we're surrounding the victims. We can surround them with prayer. We can surround them with, whatever help that they need, but the trick is we have to call it out and we have to speak up. I thank you for spending 2.5 hours with me tonight. I'm very, very grateful. I knew this was not going to be a short show, because this is not one thing we can say we'll come back with part 2. We needed to do it all. So I really appreciate it. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to all of it, just come back and rewind or forward or skip to the parts that you need to see. So tonight as we go, I want to remind you again that if you are in this situation or if this conversation has triggered you in any way, I want to say that we're here for you. If you know my phone, I'm here for you. On the chat and through direct messaging, we're here for you. I am committing myself to finding the help we need. I'm only a worshiper and I know some medicine. So whatever help that we need to get that is outside of my expertise, we will try to get it. Don't be silent though, and please leave and let's live. Don't die. Please don't die. As we close in worship tonight, I want all the panelists to just say something. We're going to start with Ife. Ife, I love you and I thank you.
Thank you for bringing me on the show. I really appreciate you allowing me to voice out. Um, I'm so passionate about this topic too, so that's why I I was able to say some things that I was able to say. But I will say again, if you find yourself in this kind of relationship, leave. Don't die, like you said. Um, so many people have died, maybe by hitting. Is it a big example is Osinachi. She didn't die right away, but it's from the abuse that she sustained the injury and she died. So don't die.
Thank you. Auntie Titi, thanks for being the first voice on this conversation. It seems like we have not heard your voice in such a long time, but your testimony is so powerful and it's ringing in my ears. Go ahead and say something to the DM fam as we round up tonight.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm passionate about this too, especially to the singles, because I said something the last time we met that during courtship, we thought courtship was hang out, go watch movies, just have a nice time, go to the restaurant, and we don't ask questions. We don't ask, important questions. For example, what are your short and your long term goals? If I said something a couple of days ago, like piss him off on purpose and see how he will react. He or she will react, you know. So, we need to pay attention during courtship, pay attention to whoever you're dating at the time. I know some people like to hide. Wait, there's no way you can hide it. It will come out. It will come out one way or the other. So ask questions. That's just what I would like to pass out to our singles out there. If you're listening, ask questions, please.
Thank you so much. Dr. Tadi, are you here? Go ahead and say something to your family.
Yes, I am. Yeah. I just wanted to reiterate something that Sister Lola said when she was giving her testimony. If you are being abused, please seek therapy. If you have children, your children also need to be in therapy. It's so important, so critical to your healing and to the development of your children so that they don't grow up thinking it's okay. They don't end up being in the arms of a man that will abuse them. So your son will not think it's okay to abuse women. So please seek therapy for yourself and make sure your children are also in therapy.
Thank you so much. And in light of that, sometimes when parents come with children to their visits, occasionally, as a medical doctor, you have to use your instincts sometimes. And, when you ask, we do the depression screen in the office, of course. Like I talked about the medical implications of abuse in adults. It also exists in children the same. They have post-traumatic stress disorder. They have depression. They have anxiety. A lot of them, develop obesity because they're also finding the comfort in the food. And then with obesity, all the other comorbidities that's going to come with that eventually in that lifestyle, hypertension, diabetes, hyperlipidemia, all of those things. So occasionally when I sense that something is going on, I will have the mom, I will pose the question in the very, very finest way to say, I know you're a big boy now and you probably don't want me to examine you while mom is here. So mom, please, if it's okay, can you step outside? Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you? Once I put it like that, the person that says it's not okay is fishy. So most people will say, oh yeah, that's fine. And you talk to the children. You talk to them and you let them answer those questions without the parent. Occasionally, they're not even hiding to protect the abuser. They are hiding to protect the victim because sometimes they pretend they don't see it. The children be in their room, pretend nobody ever talks about it. So that's also important what Auntie Tati said with counseling for the kids. and also medical care for the kids. Do you have anything to round up on, Attorney Karen? And then we'll go home and we'll sleep. We'll sleep on this.
You said something, Dr. Yemi, earlier about, at the first sign, you have to get loud. You have to leave. I think you said something like the abuser is counting on you not saying anything. So when it first happens, the first slap, the first, whatever it is, you have to be loud. And that just made me think of this show as you were speaking. It came on in the 80s, long time ago, but there was something they said on that show, like, especially, it was geared towards women. It was a crime show. It was like, if you're in the grocery store or coming out into the parking lot, never let yourself be taken to a second location. So when somebody is trying to abduct you from the parking lot or wherever it may be, you have to do all you can do in that moment. Scream, curse, break windows. Never let yourself be taken to a second location, meaning they'll put you in their car and go God knows where with you. So that made me think that when you see the signs of abuse, when you see he slapped you in public or he slapped you in private, like you said, if you don't get loud there and then, you got to show this person, I'm not the one to be doing this to. Even if I'm not physically, can stand up to you, somebody is going to know what you did to me. I'm going to get loud about this. And you're either going to stop doing it or I'm leaving. Because when you let yourself, and they're trying to gradually see how much they can get away with, it's like you're letting yourself be taken to a second location, because they're going to keep doing it until the point where you're not going to be able to get out of it. You understand what I'm saying? So when like, to go back to the parking lot analogy, if I started screaming and saying, MF, what do you think you're doing? And I'm breaking stuff, that guy is going to think twice, or whoever he is, about trying to put me in his car and take me to the woods, because I'm too much trouble. I am too much trouble. Let me go find something else to do, because this woman is giving me too much trouble. You have to think of it almost like with your life, like, oh, it's just a little slap, it's not going to go anywhere. It could go somewhere you don't want it to go. So when you get loud at that first, occasion, and sorry for saying that word, but if you almost get crazy, he knows that you're not the one to do that to. Or if you go and tell somebody, your big brother or whoever, he knows that you're not the one. So I just that's what made me think of that show. Never let yourself be taken to a second location. I would say don't be silent at the first sign of abuse.
Thank you so much. That was so good. I like that. I like that analogy. Never let yourself be taken to the second location. If it helps you to think about it that way, and not think about it like, oh, I'm telling on my wife, or I'm telling on my husband, or I'm reporting my husband, because sometimes we have allegiance to these people, because guess what? We love them. That's why we're in the relationship with them. Don't think about, I'm outing my person, I'm outing my partner. Think about it, like you first said, self-love. I am not going to allow myself to be taken to the second location. There is a voice on this channel tonight that usually does not speak, and I just wanted to call him out. Hi, Oludara. Thank you. We need your voice a little bit more, not only when we're talking about abuse, but thank you so much. I saw all the amazing contributions that you have made tonight, and thank you for coming out of your bubble. Actually, what happens is you never catch it live. Most of the time you watch it not dead, but when it's not live. So thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who's been here. Miss Mindy, I love you. I'm hugging you. To every person that needs the grace and the power of God, I just want us to close out in this worship song and prayer. You are my strength, strength like no other, strength like no other reaches to me. You are my hope, hope like no other, hope like no other reaches to me. You are my peace, peace like no other, peace like no other, reaches to me. In the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name, you lift me up. Lord, you lift me up. In the fullness of your grace, in the power of your name, you lift me up. Lord, you lift me up. Father, for all that have spoken to this situation, in the fullness of your grace and in the power of your name, we thank you. For anyone who is in this situation and needs to be lifted up, O Lord, we call upon the fullness of your grace and we call upon the power of your name for help to lift them up. If there are any perpetrators who have managed to catch any of this conversation and, Lord, are willing to be reached, O Lord, we call upon the fullness of your grace and the power of your name for them to cease all the learned behavior, all self-taught, all developed, all the ones they don't even know how they got where they got. Lord, we can do nothing about this, no matter how much medical, legal, emotional, psychological, personal bits and tips that we have, except all of those are operating in the fullness of your grace and in the power of your name. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to share tonight. Thank you for being present with us. In Jesus' name, we have prayed. Amen. Amen. All right, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks, Daily Motion fam. To all our panelists, this is just amazing. Thank you. Have a wonderful night, DM fam. And speak out.
Good night.
Speak out.
Bye
Speak out.
bye.
Don't die.
Sarah,
Speak out. God bless you.